What's up, guys? Ask Coach Ben podcast here from Muscle Farm HQ. I got here with me Jim from Jiu-Jitsu Magazine. What's up, Jim?
What is going on, Ben? Back when I was teaching a lot of jiu-jitsu, one of the concerns I had was people that came back to show YouTube, what they learned on YouTube's, the YouTube instructional. And, it kind of creates a little dynamic of good and bad. What are your thoughts on learning jiu-jitsu online?
So this is kind of like a question that's been floating around for a long time. Should I learn jiu-jitsu online? Is there any benefits? A lot of people will take a very hard stance on this and just automatic answer, no, you should never learn jiu-jitsu online. It'll hurt your game. I don't necessarily agree with that. So I'll just break down kind of like a hierarchy right now of what I think is beneficial and things that might be detrimental, right? So I think about this like a pyramid, right? So number one, the thing that's going to help you the most when you're learning, if you're going to learn jiu-jitsu online, is watching high-level competition, okay? And the reason I think that's number one, so watching events like Kasai, like the IBJJF World Championships, like ADCC, the reason that it's productive to do that, in my opinion, is you're watching the best guys at the highest level competing against the best guys, right? So they're not going to use BS techniques. They're going to do things that work, and it's a qualifier, right? It kind of weeds out things that doesn't work, right? If it doesn't work, it's not going to work in competition when people are going 100%, right? So number one to me is high level competition. Okay, if you're going to watch jiu-jitsu, spend most of your time watching high level competition. The second in that hierarchy would be paid instructionals, and paid subscription sites, right? I don't put one above the other. So like paid instructional DVDs, for example, the ones that you can digital download or send you a DVD, it doesn't matter. Like John Danaher's stuff, Ryan Hall's stuff,
Marcelo Garcia.
Garcia.
It goes on and on.
The Mendez Brothers online. There's a lot of subscription sites. Hodger Gracie online. There was one point where I had like every subscription because I just, I thought it's expensive. Yes, but like the BJJ Fanatics stuff is very good. If you have a guy you really like, you want to mimic their style. I would say instructionals are usually pretty good, but at the same time, you have to have kind of like a weeding out process, right? So there's a lot of very, very good instructors that they teach not necessarily in the same way that they compete, right? So I see a lot of instructional DVDs, subscription site material that's, hey, I've seen this person do this move in competition, but it looks different. They do it different, and they teach it different. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to pick up stuff learning it the way that they teach it, but they don't do it the way that they teach it. So there's like a secret to the move or a trick to the move that not everybody is able to teach, or they're not telling it to you, right? So I would put that as the second tier, right? Paid instructionals, paid subscription sites. Usually they're pretty good, right? Usually you get what you pay for. You're paying money. It's better than the next tier, which is YouTube. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube. I learn a lot. Bernardo Faria's channel is great. BJJ Fanatics is a great YouTube channel. A lot of people out there. John Thomas has a really good channel. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. There's a lot of good YouTube channels, but you have to be very selective, right? We were talking about this before we started the podcast, but those of you that have been online for a while and been doing jiu-jitsu for a while, you probably remember a guy named James Paredes, right? The lug nut.
The lug nut. For all of you who may not be familiar with the lug nut submission move, And I say submission
Describe
with air
it, Jim.
quotes.
Describe how you would get me with that.
Well, no, I just can't. There's no describe. You would never get
Well, I
caught
can
in this.
describe it. I can describe it. So I mount you.
What? Yeah,
right?
okay. So
I
the
cross your arms, and then I turn it like a screw, and somehow you tap.
Yeah.
Right? This is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everybody that has not seen this, search James Paredes lug nut. He has other gems on there too. He has like these arm bars. It just looks like a person that doesn't know how to move.
Yeah, they were pretty ill thought.
Yeah. So YouTube would be the next, like, it's a hit or miss, right? You could
Right.
you could run into a really, really good, like, Andre Galvao came out with some stuff on YouTube from Bernardo's channel, right? And I was watching it the other day. I was like, man, this is great stuff, because it's Andre Galvao. Then there's James Paredes putting out, BS. I remember this guy because he used to say that he was how I knew this guy was BS. Other than I didn't even have to watch his shit. He said he was a Kosen judo practitioner. Kosen judo. You ever heard of Kosen judo?
I have not.
So Kosen judo is basically like this super kind of, people think of it like a rare form of judo, right? But I've been to Japan. You know what Kosen judo really means? It just means high school judo. So it's not a thing. It's just saying high school judo. It's just kind of like, it's a judo they practice in high school. I don't know. I asked my friend at the Kodokan, and that's what he said.
Okay.
So right away I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because Kosen judo is not really like a style. It's like a term for a thing. So anyway, YouTube, be careful. There's good stuff there, but you could also run into complete, garbage.
Right.
Next, so there's more, right? So there's forums, right? Like Reddit, SureDog, the UG, Facebook. There's Facebook groups. What else? Yeah, Instagram. There's like pages on Instagram where it's just kind of like little clips of moves, right? And again, got to be careful, right? You don't know, right? I read Reddit from time to time, and Reddit is sometimes great. Sometimes there's very articulate people. I've learned things from there, but I've also come across just, again, people that have no idea what they're talking about, trying to educate others on something that they don't even know. So you got to be careful, especially when you get into the realm of YouTube and forums and even instructionals, subscription sites, right? There's subscription sites out there, I'm sure, that aren't legitimate. They're just, not high quality. So yeah, that's kind of, that's that. So if you're going to learn online, that's to me like the hierarchy of things that you should be doing. And then a little bit off topic, but recording your own rolling and analyzing it. This is not online. You just requires a computer or a phone. But I think that is almost more valuable than anything else. Recording what you're doing, and then so Mikey Musumeci talked about this in his documentary. He talked about kind of teaching himself by recording his rolls, right? And I've been doing that myself. You remember we rolled the other day,
Right.
and I recorded and analyzed it and narrated it. And I don't know if I'm getting better from it, but it's fun. It's at least.
Well, it's a healthy exercise, especially as a coach,
Yeah.
as an instructor. It's very important to, and a lot of guys that they're unwilling to do stuff like this and put themselves on a platform
Yeah.
to be wrong, to make mistakes. And I think, in our conversations and in our discussions, we believe in transparency.
Oh yeah.
It's like, and that's, I think, all in all, that's the spirit that everyone's drawn to
Right.
about jiu-jitsu. There's truth in the technique, if it works on the mats. And even martial artists beyond jiu-jitsu, I mean, even Bruce Lee, he credited his art, the creation of his art, as stripping away stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of honesty that happens when you do stuff like what you do, when you video yourself and you kind of narrate, you navigate, you allow people into your head and the thought process
Yeah.
that goes on.
You also become a better teacher because
Absolutely.
you now have to articulate what it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's the rolling that I've done and recorded. You guys will probably not easily find it, but if you want to see it and get an idea of what I'm talking about, go to the YouTube page, School BJJ Arcadia. That's my academy.
And it's SCHL.
No, it's a school. It should be school. Written
Oh, okay.
out.
It's written out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's written out. School BJJ Arcadia YouTube. I've got like 10 subscribers, so I don't expect much. But
After this, you'll have 13.
I don't put it there. I don't put it there. For it's just what I am. I'm not putting on a show. All I'm doing is I'm rolling at a comfortable pace with my brown belts, blue belts, white belts, whoever it is, black belt friends. We have one on there, and it's just something to kind of learn from, right? I learned a lot from the role that me and you had, just narrating it and then trying to. And the reason I do it, by the way, for people that are wondering, is I do it and post it on my Facebook group for my students, so they can get an idea of what I'm thinking in my head. It's just transparency. I get tapped in these things too, by the way. I don't care. Like, it's not a big deal. It is what it is. I don't even think the camera's on or anything. I just kind of, record it, go home, analyze it, put it out there, and that's it. I think that may be as valuable, if not more valuable, than watching high-level competition, because you're watching yourself, right? If you're making a mistake, you can right away see, okay, I do this weird thing with my foot. Maybe I'm not keeping my knees tight enough on side control. I need to correct that.
Or I keep getting my guard passed,
Yeah.
or
Why?
whatever. Yeah,
Because you're overextending. Are you reaching your leg out? These are things that you can't see because you're in your own body, right? But as soon as you record it, you can see it, and that's why analyzing your rolling is very important. Even analyzing your competition as well. It's probably even more important. So if you compete, analyze your competition footage, right? But again, those are it's a little off topic because we're talking about learning jiu-jitsu online, right? So let's go back to the list and kind of hash out each one of these and just make a little point on each, right? So why is high-level competition, again, just in more detail, why is it the number one on my pyramid? Is because, like I said, it's guys are going to compete, use the best stuff that they can, and that shows itself in competition. Also, competition really is just an arms race, right? It's a arms race of techniques, right? Who wins in most competitions is the person that has a technique or a sequence or a system that the other person doesn't know. That's how you have a competitive advantage, right? Physically, everybody's pretty similar, right? But there's nobody that really has won a competition that I've seen, high-level competition, based on like physicality alone, right? It's usually physicality plus technique plus strategy and timing and all that stuff, right? And usually people at the highest level, it's a strategic thing, right? Or something that is known, right? So you want to look for those things when you're watching high-level competition and add it to your game, right? So here's a personal example. Through watching high-level competition, I realized that the De La Hiva guard, right, the leg with the hook, right, the hook put in, was not really being played that much by people over 160 pounds, right? So as people got heavier, they just didn't have the mobility, or it's just not part of their game, So I realized like Nicholas Marigali was like the only guy that was really playing like a high-level De La Hiva game with the hook. So what were the other people doing? They were playing like a no hook De La Hiva, right? Like a Leandro Lowe style. They just stick the leg out there. And I would not have really noticed that if I didn't watch high-level competition, right? So what I did was I kind of altered my game because I just realized, I'm not the most mobile guy. I should probably lean toward the trend of what these bigger, I'm 200 pounds, so these bigger guys are doing and still having success with, so I kind of, through that, I found guys like Kynan, right, who has a great guard, very simple guard. Through that, I reached out to him, invited him to my academy, did a seminar. I learned a lot from him. I still use his guard to this day. And so that's kind of how learning. I learned that started from learning jiu-jitsu online. So competition. Do you have anything to add on the competition, Jim?
Well, I do. Because to your point, I remember very specifically, like it was a triangle defense against a leg triangle choke, right? When you're in someone's guard and they slap that triangle on you. Mm-hmm. I learned the 1, 2, 3 of the move, but I didn't learn the context of the application.
Right.
until I was at a Worlds. I want to say it was like around 2009-ish, and it was like Humlo Bahal, one of his matches. And I saw someone execute that move, and I got to see how you do it. It's not 1 and 2 and 3.
Right.
No, no, no. The way he applied the techniques, it was like an explosion. It was a
Right.
quick move. And when you see it used in real time, then,
Right.
you know, just like the English language or like any spoken language, there's context.
Yeah.
So I got to see the context. I was able to immediately recognize, oh, hey, that's the move I learned.
So you saw it live.
I got to see it live,
but online is the same.
but it's the same
generally
thing,
the same.
right? And to your point that you're making, watch
Yeah.
those. I mean, it didn't matter if I watched that same move online. You
Yeah,
know?
you would have got 90% of it, watching it online.
Right. So the point is, I could connect the dots
Yeah.
from what I learned in class to watching a high level
Exactly.
competitor use that same. I was able to recognize the technique, and to me, to this day, that's the example I like to use. The importance of
Yeah.
seeing.
You know where it's most
competition.
prevalent is that I know of is in judo. Judo, when you do a beautiful kazushi, you do the 3 steps in, and then you load up on the hip, and it's like this beautiful motion, right? Then you watch judo competition. Nobody does that. They're jumping in and 3-step. The 3 steps that you take to enter, it becomes one jump.
Right.
Always.
And a pivot in midair.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying that if you learn it via an instructional that you're not going to be able to do it in competition, but the guys teaching you in the instructional are not doing it that way in competition. So why? I haven't figured it out yet. I think it was just certain people are trained in a certain way, and they learn to move a certain way, but then they compete so much that the move has kind of become muscle memory in competition. But when they teach, they're not thinking about that, right? They're thinking about how they learned it.
Right. Right.
So number 2, right? So let's get to number 2, which was instructionals, DVDs, streaming, whatever it is, or subscription sites, right? So with number 2, I think the it's great, but you have to be careful, right? There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's also a lot of stuff that is like you could get lost, right? If here's an example, right? I'm not the biggest Mendes Brothers game kind of guy anymore. I used to be, but after a while, I can't play a lot of the stuff that they do. Like I can't invert that well, and I know how to teach and do the berimbolo, but I cannot for the longest time I couldn't make it part of my A game. Why? Because I just don't practice it enough, and it doesn't flow naturally for me. So I tend to be one of those guys that kind of comes up on singles and then smash passes. That's just what I do. So if I spend all my time watching the Mendes Brothers stuff, right, is it the most beneficial for me? Probably not. So I still have a subscription to their site. I pick and choose the things that are more applicable to me.
Well, there's a level of expectation because it's the Mendes brothers.
Yes.
You know what they do well, and you want to hear what they have to say about a certain topic.
Oh yeah, there's gems that are dropped
Right.
all the time that I hear from Guy and Hoffa, right? But the wrong, like say if one of my white belts came to class and he's like, I've been training 2 weeks. I subscribe to Mendes Brothers and I'm gonna try this like advanced crab ride stuff. I'm gonna be like, look, man, it's great when you get there. You got to learn, escaping the mount first, right? Or a basic shrimp, right? Or there's certain things that it can send you down a wrong path. So like everything we've ever talked about, it depends. It's like all these things depend. There's no people that say, you shouldn't learn anything online. YouTube sucks. You're going to get worse. They're wrong. They're just wrong. And the people that say you should learn everything on YouTube, well, of course you're wrong.
They're both half wrong.
They're both wrong, right? So,
Right.
So yeah. And then now we're at YouTube, right? So YouTube, this is the real dangerous one because anybody can put anything on YouTube, right? Anything can put anything. I mean,
The lug nut.
technically, some people are learning jujitsu. Some people are learning jujitsu, or at least jujitsu concepts from us, right? Me and you, right? So I can assure everybody that I am not I'm not a guru. I don't know everything in the world, but my intention is to always be a student and always to put out the best information that I can, with the intent of helping others, and with the intent of also kind of growing my brand and our podcast and our platform, right? So yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. Okay, so I can only guarantee that. You don't have to believe me. I could be a complete liar, right? So that's the thing. You don't know what people's intentions are on YouTube. James Paredes could be the best guy ever. He could be humanitarian, saint, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? His intentions can be good. Who knows? I don't know the guy. Probably not. But at the end of the day, you don't know these people. You don't know what their intent is. You shouldn't even believe what I say. Nobody should believe what I say or Jim says. You should think for yourself. Take what we say and do your own research, right? If we're wrong on anything, let us know. I'd be happy to admit I was wrong, but you gotta show me the evidence. And then the last one, right? So what are your thoughts on YouTube, Jim? You got any?
I think YouTube should be used as some sort of a la carte. What I like, and what I mean by that is, let's say you're having a very specific problem. You see a tendency in your own videoing, or after a day or a week of training, you see a tendency like, God dang, I keep getting caught in a butterfly sweep, right? So then YouTube, do a search for it, defense against butterfly sweep, and then boom, those could come in, and then from there the filtration begins.
Yeah.
You gotta. It's on the person doing the search here to recognize what their ability is, what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
So as far as like an a la carte, it's great. But when we go to the course packages, like the Mendez brothers or any of those sites that you named off before, it's like you get a certain quality.
Yeah, it's a higher quality.
You get a whole system.
Well, you're paying for it.
Well, I would say, I mean, even if we strip out the judgment of a higher quality, let's just say you get a consistency in the instruction.
Yes.
Whereas that thing that you said, that butterfly path, that's not in there. It's not in there. So, or if there's something, it's like, yeah, I know that one, but I need a higher level, or I need a deeper understanding.
How do you think people should approach their instructor about YouTube videos? Like, what if?
Great question.
What if I was your student and I said, "Hey, Jim, I've been seeing this thing on YouTube, and I want to do it."
So,
do you like that, or what would you say?
Well, it depends. I like it if they're taking the previous instructions of my thoughts, because I will give my thoughts about this as an instructor. It's like, you got to be careful. This is essentially what we're talking about now. I get asked that every
week, by the way. What do you think about this? And then phone's in my face already.
Yeah, right. After class, sure, let's talk about it. And much like you, I'm a fan of learning.
Yeah.
And this is we'd be foolish to not seize the opportunity to learn from this technology of YouTube, right? So then we're in the lab. We live in the lab. If you see it, if it looks interesting, oh yeah, let's go. Let's go down the rabbit hole. We'll learn this together. But I think it's up to us, not that we are the be-all, end-all, but we have a solid foundation, and we can spot crap.
Right. So we're pretty open-minded. I don't think a lot of No, I shouldn't use the word. I don't think a lot of.
It's common. It's common that you get some people that they're closed.
Yeah. So if you train at just a standard jiu-jitsu, I don't know where you train, anywhere you guys train, you gotta be careful with that, okay? Because right? I'm very open-minded, but I even get annoyed when a student every class just goes, "Hey, I got this another move on YouTube." I mean, is this ever gonna end? There's a million moves on YouTube, right? What about the stuff that I taught you today? Maybe we should work on that.
Let's value that.
Yeah, or if you have I get this one a lot too, where it's like, I just feel like I can't get out of this position. So I mean, when does it end? That can be very annoying to an instructor. So I would just say, if you're a student, especially a lower belt, be careful going to your instructor about like YouTube videos, or even instructional. Some instructors, they probably don't want you to be subscribed to other instructors' subscription sites, so again, you got to tread lightly. I don't know everybody's situation, but we got to wrap it up. So the last one is it's just forums, right? I think forums could possibly be the worst, because you can't even see who these people are. I could be a troll. I could be, a person that thinks I know what I'm talking. I'm very convincing. I have a way with typing words. You can't even see me, So forums, I would really stay away from. Yeah,
Tread with
I
caution,
just
for
the
sure.
most caution I would do with forums, like Reddit, like these things. Reddit's great, a lot of great stuff on Reddit. I learn a lot on Reddit, but there's a lot of crap on. There's a lot of gossip. There's a lot of useless stuff. There's a lot of bad instructions there. So yeah, so that's it. Learning jiu-jitsu online, good or bad? It depends.
Yeah. Right. It depends. Tread lightly. Be careful. And yeah, you just arm people with a good foundation to move forward in this digital realm. So, once again, thanks, Coach, on some good knowledge. If you want to follow Coach on Instagram, at Coach BZ, Bravo Zulu.
Follow Muscle Farm at Jiu Jitsu Magazine, also at Muscle Farm at Jiu Jitsu Magazine. Thank
All
you.
right.